Hello everyone, so back for day two, same format, we're just going to whiz through with selections for each race. So who wants to kick us off in the Ballymore? Jono?
Yeah, I think it's straightforward. Gerhard wins. I think I think arguably he's the best. Well, maybe not staying novice, but 2 to 2.5 mile novice hurdler.
How do you know
Yeah,
he's a
I
two and a
think.
half miler?
I mean, yeah, obviously a lot will be made of that, and there's the stat kind of going around. I've seen quite a bit of horses that well, you need to have had a run over 2 mile four, and obviously that Leopardstown, what was the Chanel Farmer Deloitte at one point. But yeah, it's a load of rubbish. I mean, Mullins could have picked out a 2 mile four maiden in the winter, and if he had won that, everyone would have no issue in it. He would have beaten trees, and it wouldn't have said much. And yeah, some of the horses that are used in that argument, I did on the forum the other day. Nichols Canyon came third, but they messed up tactics. Once they went more prominent again, he won over 2 mile four, Aintree and Punchestown. Bacardi's badly hampered, taken out of the race. And he followed up a Punchestown over 2 mile four. No issue at all. And actually, I think if you're looking at trips, I'd argue for me, Three Stripe Life. I understand why they've gone up in trip, but for me, he's best at 2 miles. I would have given him more chance in the Supreme, actually, albeit it's a hotter race. Journey with me, for me, best over 3 miles. I think Sir Gerhard is by far the best of this field. I can see why people might want to take him on. I also think there's a level of, because a lot of people wanted him in the Supreme, have backed him that way, and this was myself included. I've gone in on him now for the Ballymore, but I think you people maybe are kind of trying to take him on because they've missed him now. I just think it's quite straightforward, and he wins.
Excellent. Just, I'm going to ask well, no, I'll do it at the end actually. So I would agree. I think Sir Gerhard is easily the most likely winner of this. Now that Ginto's an unlikely runner, the one I would put up. The one I would put up. Three Strike Life. I do like. I have been backing him for this for quite a while. But at loads bigger prices, 7 to 1 now makes hardly any appeal at all because I don't really think he can win it. So you might as well back Sir Gerhard to win rather than get your sort of place returns from a 7 to 1 shot. I think that's too short. Generally with me as well, 5 to 1. Like you'd get your money back if he places, but how realistic is his win chance? I'd probably rather back him in a without market than I would back him each way because I just don't think he'll win it. The one that I would say is still an each way price, I did put it up on the forum yesterday at 40 to 1. Anti post is What Do You Want? And he's 25 to 1 anti post now. I'd probably still chance that. It's not. Like it wouldn't surprise me at all if I saw a Willie 1-2 in this. And I don't think he's loads. Like he went up favourite for that Lawlers of Nace race. Didn't. He was sort of well fancied before it. There were excuses after it. It's a bit of a punt, to be honest. Like if I had one bet in the race, it would just be Sir Gerhard to win. But I think 25 to 1 when it's going to cut up. Ginto will come out tomorrow, and you'll have Journey with Me, Stage Star, Three Stripe Life, and then What Do You Want? Probably be fifth in. And I don't think he's going to be 25 to 1 tomorrow. So he's 20 to 1 non-runner, no bet. But at this stage, you might as well just take the 25 to 1. I just hope he sneaks into a place because it wouldn't surprise me if Stage Star underperformed or Journey with Me or Three Stripe Life. I suppose it's just 25 to 1 for him to get ahead of a couple of those, which hopefully he could do. But as for a selection, it would be Sir Gerhard and a tiny little mention for Scarface, who, if he did run, you'd get a bigger price on the day. But I really liked him in behind Sky Ace. I liked his attitude. I liked the way they just pulled so far clear. They're probably Sky-tastic, sorry, not Sky Ace. But if he was an absolute wild price on the day, then I'd probably have a look at him in some markets as well, perhaps. But I don't know if he's going to run.
Well, I thought he was very, very lucky to finish ahead of mine that day, wasn't he?
Yeah, yours is Frank the Form, hasn't he? So Frank the Form.
Yeah, just one thing to add to what you guys have said, and that is the Ballymore's often easier to get than the Supreme. They tend to have a bit of a dawdle around for the first half a mile, 3/4 of a mile anyway. So I wouldn't be concerned about Sir Gerard getting the trip. He's got the speed. It's likely to be a 5 or 6 runner race. Journey with Me's Stage Star, 3 Stripe Life are probably the only 3 realistic contenders, and for all the reasons that you said, they're probably not good enough. 3 Stripe Life, I think the price is no good now. I think Stage Star is completely forgotten about and overlooked. So he's done nothing wrong, in my opinion, but he's just not at Sir Gerard's standard. Sir Gerard just wins.
Yeah, I've got nothing to add nothing to add. Sir Gerard.
Okay, perfect. What I will ask then, this came up earlier today, now that Sir Gerard is in this and he's a shorty, where do you rank him among the shorties? So if you had to have your top 3 shorties, which would be Honeysuckle,
Alaho,
Shishkin,
Scarehard, Facile Vega. I think they were the 5.
They're the ones that came up. Run Wild Fred, I'd rather have than any, but yeah.
For me, I think he's probably going to have the easiest race of the lot. He's going to have 5 or 6 rivals, and he's a class apart, isn't
he? Yeah, I'm not sure. I think he's up against, I think they're all Journey with Me, Stage Star, 3 Stripe Life. I could see running in Grade 1s in the future.
Yeah, not over this trip.
So,
Journey with Me, over 3 miles. 3 Stripe Life probably wants to go further, but we already know that Sir Gerard's a better horse than him. Because he finished well ahead of him in the Champion Bumper, didn't
he? Yeah,
and the Dublin Racing Festival.
Yeah,
I would have Honeysuckle as the top, Alaho behind, just because it's fences. Always a slight risk there, and then Scarehard, and then Shishkin, just because
he's got a harder race.
He's got the 2 rivals there, matched very closely in ratings, at least for now.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, Brill. So on to the the RSA. I love La Press now. The closer we've got to the festival, I don't think I've really posted much about it, but I was quite late to the party with him. I'd just missed sort of the first run, faffing about, and it was just assumed he was going to the Turners and would be sort of the main danger for Bob Ollinger, and now things have transpired the way we think they will. I think he's an absolute stonking bet here each way. I really, really like him. I think it's not that I don't like the others. I just think he's brilliant. I just think he's absolutely brilliant. So it's not. I don't know what. Probably not. Is he still an each way price? Yeah, 4-1, just about. But I think he's just classier than a Hoist. I know obviously, Spectre, you've been a big fan of him for a long time, but I just think he's just class, and I don't know I can't really put into words why I'm so excited about him now. I just think I've been given a second chance with him, having missed him because I thought he was going to a different race, and looking at this race now, I think he could easily win this race. I think Brave Man's Game is an okay favourite, and if he won, that's great. But I'd rather him get beaten and then me back him for a King George than I would see Brave Man's get. I don't know. I think Nichols didn't want to come to Cheltenham with him. I don't think he's been made to, or the owners wanted to, and it's sort of because things have fallen away. But I don't think he thinks he's a Cheltenham Festival winning horse until things fell away. Whereas La Press just seems on an upward curve, and I'm just waffling a little bit now, but I just love La Press. I've just gone. I don't know why. I just love him, and I'd absolutely love him to win this race.
I think there's 3 horses there that there's probably not a lot between, but you've got one at 15 to 8, and the other 2 at 4 to 1, 9 to 2. So, again, if you're looking at the race now, you probably want to be against Braveman's Game because the value is with the others. But I do think Braveman's Game probably is marginally the better of the 3. I don't think there'll be a lot between Lompress and Ahoy Senor. I think my feeling is that Ahoy Senor has probably got more baseline ability, but I think Lompress is the better jumper of the 2, and that tends to win through most times. So that would be my way of sort of splitting those 2. I think the one that perhaps might be overlooked and not thought about is Dusart. We know Nicky Henderson really, really likes Dusart. He's not often wrong with staying chasers when he really likes them. So I'd put a shout out as Dusart, perhaps being a bit of value at 14 to 1 or 16 to 1 or whatever he is now.
Yeah, I'm just intrigued by what Harry Cobden apparently said, although nobody reported it, after last year when he got beat by Bo Ollinger, that Bravesman's Game made a noise towards the end of the race. And that sometimes happens when they're reaching that point of exhaustion or their limit, and you never hear it until it happens. So, this year he's had 4 relatively straightforward races. I mean, it's been very impressive. I think he's jumped really, really well. But, going back to Cheltenham and what is going to be a very competitive race, be a big question mark for me. And for that reason, I think I'll be looking elsewhere. I take the point about Lampresse. I mean, really, really impressive all season. I mean, come from nowhere in many ways. But I was also very impressed by Ahoy Senor Weatherby last time out. I thought it was a really good performance. I also jumped a bit better than he had the time before. I think it was Kempton. And so that's where I'm going to lean. I'm going to lean with a horse and Senor.
Yeah, and I'll be going against Brave Man's Game. I think there's enough doubts. Obviously, Nichols, I don't think he's really wanted to almost target the race. You just have to listen to him. He's all about the King George. And actually, just on that point, you can get 9 to 2 on the King George of Brave Man's Game. I've started putting him in a couple of bets
God, that's
already.
short, isn't it, mate? 9 to 2. Do you know what I was going to come back to say? Like, if I'm wrong about, I'll take him on in this, because if I'm wrong about him, I'll win my money back in the King George. But 9 to 2 is short, isn't it? Or maybe not.
I think it's. I mean, this is what it's Paul Nichols. He's
not
a
a deep
master
race, is it? I suppose
it's basically what he's targeted the horse for pretty much his whole career, it seems. And I kind of think it's hard to see him being pushed out, in my view. I won't go on too long because it's not really the race. But if he loses, Cheltenham isn't in his track. He's a King George horse. If he wins, he's 5 to 2, 2 to 1, or whatever. See, I've actually started putting that in a few bets because I don't think there's too much of a downside. And actually, just on that note, I've also done just a couple of speculative La Press 20 to 1 for the King George, because obviously if he wins here, that looks pretty good. I mean, a couple of like Shishkin at 5 to 2, coupled with them, you get an 18 to 1 next year on Shishkin with Brave Man's Game, or a 82 to 1 with La Presse. No, 72 to 1. But I would take La Presse against Brave Man's Game. I think he's still fair each way price. I'll go the scumbag each way that Kev keeps putting up.
I can't believe the best thing I've got from tonight is 20 to 1 for a King George.
You know you're tempted.
Honestly, I will have backed that by the next time I speak on this. It's happening.
Hey, I'm doing it now.
That's an absolute cracking shout. Yeah. The what I forgot to mention is my actual tip in this race because I got too giddy talking about La Press. But I think
I forgot to tell you what the format was at the start.
I think I just when I was looking at the prices, like obviously I'm a bit obsessed now with La Press, and Capodanno, the mystery horse, is the one that I'm actually on myself. However, I think Farouk Delen is the biggest, most overpriced horse here. He's 16 to 1 at the moment. I think it's a massive price for a horse that, I mean, although I don't particularly like Statler, it's still our level of form that's not miles behind what we've got here. We've got the 3 horses that are now 5 to 1 best price. You've got Capodanno 7 to 1, and then over double the price for Farouk Delen. And I think he's just the kind of horse that will be staying on into a place in this. I mean, maybe when the declarations come out tomorrow, we get some extra places and things, and I'll have a look at him again then. But he was the one that I'd sort of. La Press is the one that I like the most, so I would put him up at each way 4 to 1. But just tomorrow, if there's some extra places, and Farouk Delen might still be like 14 or 16 to 1. I think he's a little bit underestimated because there's. Because we love Run Well Fred so much doesn't necessarily mean that Chickenstown can't have some of the good staying chasers. And if you believe their mantra, they put their best staying chaser in this race rather than the National Hunt Chase. And if this horse is better than Run Well Fred, now I'd give Run Well Fred a massive chance in this race as well because I really like him. But I just think Farouk Delen is a horse there. I mean, he's the same price as Dusart, and I think who's got a good mention, and rightly so. But I think on balance, I think Farouk Delen's got better form than him so far over fences, so I quite like him, and he's the one that I was supposed to mention first time when I got carried away.
I'd be surprised if he's declared because they've talked in the past about a preference for deep ground, soft heavy, and also he's got a tendency to jump right, hasn't he? I'd be very surprised if he's declared. He's
going to jump right into the winner's enclosure.
So do you think Fury Road will come here?
He might.
So they've been 3 miles once, of course. That's when he finished in front of Run Well Fred.
Yeah.
Why his marks sat much higher, but he's obviously in the turners as well. But
yeah, I think
he's one to be a little bit scared of.
Yeah, he's probably more likely to run here than the turners, I would have thought.
Yeah. See, I'm not sure about that either. I think they've already confirmed that Beacon Edge comes here. I think they'll have a preference to split them. I think Fury Road will go to the turners.
Yeah, could well be. We'll see. I suppose we'll know after declarations tomorrow, but it doesn't matter. La Press wins the King George, so who cares about this race?
Who cares about Cheltenham?
Yeah, who cares about Cheltenham? Spot on. Which leads us
29 race tonight, and one of them's in 9 months' time.
Right, lovely. So, one of you guys needs to start talking about the Coral Cup because I need to back La Press in the King George.
Well, while you're
help you much, guys, I'm going to be really quick. I'm not going to waste any. I'm not wasting any time on this race because there's so many doubly declared. Until Noah's running, I could go backwards and forwards. I haven't built up any particular loyalty. What I would say, and this will be a recurring theme, Mars Harper is going to be my bet in whatever race that horse turns up in. I don't think it will be this one, although I think it probably should be. If it was, then that's the one I would be backing.
There's, I think we're going to see 2 Ukrainian flags flash past the post, one after the other, with the Shunter and Camprond. So JP's running his horses in the Ukrainian flag colours for the festival. And I think he has this race by the balls with those 2. He didn't buy the Shunter as a badly handicapped horse, that's for sure. He's rated way below his chase mark. There's still plenty to come from the Shunter. And I still can't forget that the Great Wood 18 months ago, whatever it was now, 17 months ago, when he could have won that as far as he liked. It was a bit like watching Surprise Package at the weekend, really. And Camprond, I think is also just a nicely handicapped horse. He's been doing his running over 2 miles. he looks as though he'll benefit for going up in trip. He's certainly bred to improve for it. I think most likely JP wins it with those two. I think probably the shunter. I am going to mention a couple more each way shots in the race. Fast or Slow, which finished a couple of places behind you, the Dublin Racing Festival, Paul.
Yep.
He needs further, and I suspect they've waited for this to go up in trip specifically. I think he's probably around the 12, 14 to 1 mark. I've not checked the market before we've done this, but I think he's that kind of price. I think he's completely unexposed, and I think he's been laid out for something, and then he's ended up in here. So I think it's this he's been laid out for. And also Nicky Henderson's got Call Me Lord in there. He knows how to win this race, not just with the unexposed horses, but he seems to bring the Call Me Lord types that have been around the block for a long time to this race, and they all seem to run very well. It's probably one for the extra places to be safe. Wait until the deck's tomorrow and you get 7 places for the race, but I think Call Me Lord's too big at 33 to 1. So is Tronador, but I'm not going to talk about him because I don't think he'll get in, but I think Tronador would have been a bit of a shout here as well.
Fair enough. I definitely like the JP you put up. I like both of them. I am on both of them, but if I was starting now, I think there's 3 that sort of stand out. One of them's too short though now, but massive chances. St. Felician, 8 to 1's a little bit too. I think. Well, the case is just obvious for him, isn't it? I think the fact they didn't bother putting him in the county means they think the step up in trip's going to help. He's probably going to be a graded performer over that intermediate trip, which is probably why I suppose if he'd have run any better or won that race, he'd have been a lively champion hurdle outsider, but didn't. But I've just got to assume they think that step up and drop will help him. But 2, both at 14 to 1. I've heard murmurings today that Nicky Henderson's leaning towards, or certainly considering again, the handicap mark of I Am Maximus. So that run with Hillcrest, I think Jono mentioned it at the time, or it's definitely been mentioned numerous times. Not really a surprise to anyone, but the doubles Hillcrest with I Am Maximus in either handicap, but especially this one, I definitely fancy him off this. I struggle to say that he's not well in, and I disagree with anyone that disagreed with me. Anyone? Good. And the other one is McFabulous. I just think he's the class horse. This is his trip. He's been tried in better races over further and doesn't stay well enough. And he's got some form. I think I always like a horse that I know can run to its rating and has earned that rating. So even if there will always be a few horses that are unexposed and well in, but I think people assume every single horse in a handicap is well in off their mark and therefore can reach certain levels, and McFabulous is just already at a level where I don't think a lot of horses can get to in this race. There's not loads and loads of graded horses in this race, in my opinion. So I think the 14 to 1 about McFabulous is well worth a look at. It's like you've got horses like Grand Roy that are 14 to 1 as well, or like I Am Maximus is best. Well, I Am Maximus is shorter everywhere, and there's just no way.
Horses like Grand Roy, hang on, whoa. Horses like Grand Roy. You two were trying to convince me to back Grand Roy with 3.
Yeah, I have backed Grand Roy, but what I'm saying is he's not as good a horse, is he? He's not done anything as well. Like you've got I Am Maximus.
You're trying to convince me to back a rubbish horse. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that like you do with Jeffrey's Cross.
Oh, it hurts.
But yeah, like just look at like so like I don't know. You've got I Am Maximus, who's all right, best price 14 to 1, but just shorter all over, and it's just like is it guaranteed that I Am Maximus is as good a horse as McFabulous is? I just don't think it is. So I'm just quite happy with. I mean, I've put up both of them, and they're coming from totally different angles. But 14 to 1, I think for both of them, I'd probably chance. But I just like McFabulous. I just fancy him to be able to run to his rating, and I'm not sure how many will be well in against him, which I know is what we're looking for.
Does his course form not bother you, Kev?
No, because it's running over 3 miles was never going to work for him.
Yeah, it's more.
And I like
best performance have been on sort of flat tracks, really, haven't they?
Yeah, a little bit. But again, I think he's still. It still wouldn't worry me enough in this race to be against him. I think he's a big price for. He just travels so well, and he's got proper Grade 1 form. And like when you watch them back, the way he's travelling to. Now, I know it's 3 mile races, but the way he's travelling, I think it won't be a problem for him. There's just horses in here that are not as good. There's horses in here that are handicappers, and I think he's a Grade 1 horse, albeit over an intermediate trip, and I don't think he's had a chance to show that yet, so that's why I'd like him. But I will say this is without a doubt for me the hardest handicap in the world. Like it's the intermediate trip, you've got horses coming up in trip, you've got horses dropping back in trip, you've got novices, you've got exposed handicappers, you've got plots, just stuff coming back from fences. It's really, really hard, so it wouldn't be anywhere near my strongest fancy, so I will shut up immediately.
With all the handicaps, try and find either the graded horse that's masqueraded around in a handicap, or you look at novices that are unexposed. So they're the right profile of horses. But Jono's now going to tell me Grand Roy.
Here we go. No, I'm not actually.
Oh God, I've been conned.
I don't know why you backed him. I don't know why you backed him, Paul.
I didn't.
There's no chance.
I never listened to you two.
So but a bit like Paul said. I mean, this until we know the final decks, it's no point getting too deep in this. There's a few horses. Ganapathy would be one. They've got several entries, so I won't touch on any of them. Two that are going here, or at least, Saint Felician has just a single entry. I agree. I think on the face of it, last time out, it was disappointing. They got beat by Durasso, probably because I think a lot of people thought he might be an outside chance for the champion hurdle. Again, like Kev said, but I've mentioned before, Durasso is just one of the most consistent runners this season. Kind of low to mid 150s. I think he's rated 153 over hurdles. Obviously, I think was 3 lengths in front of Saint Felician. But just given their profiles, how lightly raced Saint Felician is, I think he could reverse that. So I think there's a little bit of wiggle room in that 149. And again, the step up could bring about that. But he is short. I've not actually backed him yet because I was stupid enough to back him for the county, the pipe, and leave out this race, which always seems to happen. And now I've missed the price, but I'm sure I'll be going in again on him. And the Shunter would be the other one. I think me and Paul touched on our kind of handicap entry pod, that he'd be of interest depending on the weight that he got. I thought he would get hammered actually, given what happened last year. I thought there's no way they're going to go easy on this horse, but lo and behold, despite a lot of the Irish getting kind of 4, 5, 6 pounds, he's only gone up 2 pounds from his Irish hurdle race rating. That is still obviously lower than his chase rating of 153. You go back, you look through his kind of handicap hurdle form. Emmett Mullins has said that he's a better hurdler than chaser. He ticks a lot of boxes. We know he's going there. And
probably
previous festival,
probably £5 coming off or something as well, Jono, from a top amateur.
Exactly that. So
it'll run off low 140s.
Yeah. So he's third favourite at the moment. I think he's probably going to be favourite coming off.
Yeah, I agree.
2 single-figure shouts in the Coral Cup, Jono. Cheers.
No scumbag each way from you. 4-1.
10 places. If this was tomorrow, I'd be putting the shunter up 4-1, 10 places.
So is this where you do your each way nap of the day with Shishkin, Kev?
Yeah, absolute good thing. On onto the Queen Mother then, Shishkin. Until he gets beaten, I've not really got any interest in taking him on. I definitely think an Ergamine can win, but I'm not just going to tip him for the sake of it. But at the price he is, I think has he got a big enough each way scumbag price yet? An Ergamine? No, 7-2. If he went 9-2, I probably would go in again. No, hang on. We're talking about if we were starting now. If an Ergamine was 9-2, I probably would back him each way, but not at 7-2. Wouldn't back Shakan Passoir at 9-2 as much as I like him. Wouldn't back Nuba Negra at 10-1. Wouldn't back Envoy Allen at 20-1. Wouldn't back Put the Kettle On at 20-1 for all that I like her. Wouldn't back Funambula Savola at 20-1. Wouldn't back Editor de Geet at 33-1. Wouldn't back Politolog at 40-1. Or back Levadoyan at 250-1. So that's me done.
No, that's exactly where you are, Kev. You know, I think Shishkin runs sometimes, always hits a flat spot, it seems. There's always that sense he's going to get beaten this time, but he doesn't get beaten this time. And until he does, then he's a bit like today's version of Big Bucks over a different distance and over fences. You know, he pulls it out when he needs to. And so on that basis, you know, I might just watch this race. I'm not going to be heavy on this race.
Yeah, and no bet races. Where am I?
Yeah, Shishkin wins. I absolutely love Shakan Passoir, but I can't see him doing much in the race, which is a shame because big fan of him. Who do we think Paul Townend rides?
An Ergamine, absolutely no doubt.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd be surprised if he didn't.
Yeah, you have to think so. But yeah, Shishkin, he's the next Henderson Champion Chase winner. And obviously, I've already said back Shishkin 2023 a 5-2 with those King George doubles.
The King George anti-post podcast.
Yeah, given the sorry state of the Arkle this year, there'd be nothing touching Shishkin, and it'll probably be 5-4 for the race next year, at about 3:35 on Wednesday.
Yeah, surprised you haven't given us the trifecta yet. Shishkin for me too.
You've been big on Shishkin since
you
were putting him up as value at 5-4, weren't you? What is he now?
Value at
4-6,
whatever it was.
Value at 6-4,
4-7 or something. I thought he was value at price. Certainly good for multiples at that time. Only thing I've got to add for that race is Nuba Negra was only beat half a length last year. He's been deliberately kept fresh for this race, and Dan thinks he can get amongst them. You know, nobody's going to say he's going to win the race, of course they're not, but you know, it might just be a shade of value at 10-1 each way. That's all.
Yeah, maybe in the without.
Just talking about
on the without.
Talking about scumbag each ways. I think you can get 5-1 boosted on Nube Negra each way without Shishkin. And yeah, I would.
Do you know the reason I wouldn't like that so much is just because I've always been such a big fan of the previous festival form. And I remember it's a good few years ago now, but I went back and just looked blindly at if you backed every previous winner or placed horse in festivals, you'd just be up blind if you backed them. And in this race, you've got Put the Kettle On at 20s and Politolog at 40s. So I'd probably look at those in that market without, just purely based on that system. It's nothing new to anyone that's going to be watching this, but just horses and Envoy Allen, of course, 20-1. So because there's three horses in this race that have, two of them have won this exact race, one of them's won at the festival twice, and that would make me think I don't want to start back. I wouldn't back Nuba Negra at a shorter price when there's three horses of that profile. It's dead easy not to fancy Put the Kettle On, Envoy Allen or Politolog this year, but when I did the analysis on it, there were loads of horses that did pop up and place, or a few won, but plenty placed at massive prices as well. And it's just that festival form. So if I was having a look at the without markets, which to be fair, I probably will tomorrow after. I know there's a without an Ergamine and without an Ergamine and Shishkin, and Shakampuswar's favourite in that, isn't he? And I suppose if anyone's got doubts over Shakampuswar, which they may have with his 3 times travelling over and not performing, then maybe if those 3 former festival winners are big enough prices, then that'd be worth a look. But
there's only 2 of those that would interest me, and that would be Nubenegger and Put the Kettle On. The other 2 have had their day. I wouldn't be interested in them at all.
No, yeah, fair enough. Okay, perfect. So, on to the last hurrah for Tiger Roll. Can he be beaten?
No, I think it's just another one there's no point in trying to be clever, is there? There's no reason to see him beaten. You know, he's a standing dish around there. They believe that he's in the same kind of form as he was last year. Elliot isn't one to put us away with that kind of stuff, so no, I wouldn't be looking at anywhere else, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree with that. The only one I'm probably betting without market, I think is interesting. Same ownership is Tute Permis. It's only had 1 run over a similar course, obviously the Punchestown Banks course, where he really was at the back for most of the race and still ran on to finish 3rd. Didn't jump great, but I think warmed up as a race went ahead and went along. So that's a 20-1, or that's probably worth a little bit of a shout, maybe each way, or like I say, betting without.
Yeah, Tiger Roll 2 to win. I've just checked actually at a time he was 25-1 to record the biggest winning distance. Tiger Roll. Just with Coral, might be with other places. He's now 16s. I might still just have I've already had a bet on it, but even now, considering just the vibes, the confidence, I would probably have a small bet on that. I don't really like relying on distance bets. If I'm going to have a distance bet, I would definitely want a kind of standard bet because you don't really want to rely on it. But across country, the last 3 seasons, you have winning distances of 18 lengths, 17 lengths, 22 lengths. Tiger Roll won 2 of those renewals. The race he was second. He was beaten 17 lengths, but he was also 18 lengths in front. And I just think the kind of the vibes in Gordon Elliott seem very strong. The ground looks to have just peaked absolutely for him, and I think you have a look at the those behind. Obviously, Prengard was kind of the talking horse. There's a lot of kind of clearly he's not had the best prep. They got the hurdle run into him, which I wouldn't judge his chance on that outcome at all. It's chalk and cheese, but he's clearly not quite had the best prep. Fitness could be an issue for him. That would obviously play into potentially a big distance. And I think given his age, they'll go easy on him first time out. They'll kind of they won't push him too hard. Easy's land looks shot. And especially on the ground, I think good ground, you couldn't be touching him. Midnight Maestro hated the track last time. Shady Operator hasn't ran. I know. They've got the Banks at home, kind of the replica. But yeah, I think a lot of people might see Tiger Roll as a short price, so I would chance that 16-1 for the winning distance, just given how the cross country has fared in previous seasons.
Good angle. Anyone worried about Delta work at all then?
No, not at all.
I did see Gordon Elliott say that he took really well to the fences, but
he's getting it to spin around this year to take over from Tiger Roll next year for the next 2 or 3 years. That's what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I've been told he didn't take to them particularly well. I've been told that, like, the absolute contrary to what Gordon Elliott's been quoted as saying from someone that was there at the time, which wouldn't surprise me. Prengard, it wouldn't surprise me if he goes off favourite for next year's race, but I don't think they're going out of their way to win it this year.
The Prengard thing's quite interesting for me because trainers don't send horses half fit to big races, so I'm not buying into that at all.
No.
Playing him down maybe, wanting to maximise the price, maybe. I think we'll see, a fit and well Prengard. Whether he's good enough is a different matter, of course. But I'm not buying into, the nonsense about, he's going to go there 80% fit, because that's just rubbish. He wouldn't go there at all.
No, I agree. I was very dubious when he said that he might not run. I remember putting that up, and some people sort of disagreed with that at the time. But I suppose now I'm so committed to Tiger Roll, because I just want that to be there. He's the reason I'm going on the Wednesday. Like, I want to be there as part of that. If that is his last race, I want to be there for that, because he's an absolute legend of this game. So I suppose that is now clouding my judgment on Prengard. I just want Tiger Roll to win so badly, but I think every now and again you have to allow yourself a little bit of. You have to enjoy it, don't you? Otherwise, why are we spending 3 hours on a Saturday or Sunday night talking about
exactly
this race?
Anyway,
perfect. So, from an easy race onto an even easier race, because Joseph O'Brien wins it with Embittered. Anyone disagree? No? Move onto the bumper.
Whoa.
So I will make I've gone Embittered. I loved, and then I went off him a little bit, and I've come right. Oh my goodness, he's 7-1. He was 14-1 last time I looked. I've got nothing to say. Carry on, Paul. Go.
Yeah, no strong fancy against. I see his chance. Yeah, but I'm sort of interested in Amarillo Sky. I thought he was pretty impressive last time out after his fall the previous time. I know technically at the weights, Time White's got the beating, but I don't think Time White is necessarily a Cheltenham horse. He's run there twice before in the Burals in the county, and really not run, in my view, particularly good races. He also looks a horse who get unbalanced, which is probably why it could be a reason why he doesn't take it to Cheltenham. So I also got this niggling feeling that Capucci Mix has got a good run in it somewhere, but it needs everything to go perfectly, and it never does for the horse. So maybe it might run into a place or something like that on Wednesday. But for me, if I was having one, Amarillo Sky.
I liked Amarillo Sky. A slight reservation for me is just his age, just given the kind of test that this is. I think he's one of the few 6-year-olds, which just kind of put me off. He's had plenty of experience, which obviously can kind of counteract that. That was just my first thought on him. Embittered, really liked. I think after Paul flagged him early on in the season, just the claims are obvious. If you liked him last season, you have to like him again. Although it seems the price is starting to come right. He was double figures for a long time. Obviously we don't have jockey bookings yet, and I'm assuming he's going to be on Top Bandit. But just a quick note on Davy Russell in this race. Obviously he generally would get a decent horse, so maybe it's not a massive surprise. But if you look through his last 7 rides in this race, and he doesn't always get a ride in the race, but he's finished 1st, 4th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 1st. And if you'd waited for the places on the day, you would have got paid out on the 4th and 5th. And actually, they're not always sure prices. You got 14-1, 8-1, 8-1, 16-1, 15-2, 13-2. Chosen Mate was the shorty at 7-2. I'm assuming he's on Top Bandit, so you're not really going to get a price.
When you say Top Bandit, do you mean Buddy Rich?
Don't know why I'm saying Top Bandit. Yes, Buddy Rich.
They'll probably got Top Bandit as well.
Have I got the inside scoop? There you go. Why on earth am I saying Top Bandit? I don't know why.
No idea. But now you. Sorry, go on.
So just to finish, Davy Russell, whoever he rides, I mean, he's a genius. To say back Davy Russell at Cheltenham isn't a massive thing, but in this race, he's a class apart.
Well, now you've stolen my killer stat. I haven't got a lot to say really, have I? Look, I agree. Buddy Rich for me. you've got to have on side. I played this race early with Buddy Rich and Embittered, so I'm in quite a fortunate position, really. So
No one cares about that, mate. Come
no,
on,
exactly. So
tip up now.
So I'm going to suggest something slightly different as a consequence, because I wouldn't be suggesting people backing those two at sort of 5 and 6 to 1. I think Andy's frame could be quite interesting with the big claim coming off him. We know he would be a class act compared to these. So if he actually had a big claim off him and he ran somewhere in the 140s, say, or say 150, I think he would become interesting. But there's some real value for me further down. Maybe you play them with extra places. But there's I like Gumball, I like January Jets, and I like Global Citizen, all big prices. Gumball was one I mentioned when the entries came out, so I backed him early doors, but he's still 20 to 1. January Jets only run 3 times over fences, and he's got some nice back form over hurdles, with the right horses. So you'd have to. He's worth a look at. Form, not far behind the likes of Envoy Allen and Janadil over hurdles makes him potentially a decent chaser, assuming he can jump. And Global Citizens come back to a bit of form, and 2 years ago he placed in an Arkle on unsuitable ground. So there's some value to be had further down. I probably will end up chucking those 3 in with Embittered and Buddy Rich for combination trifectas or something. So I think there's some interesting angles in the race.
Yeah, I think. The one I was going to put up was Embittered at 14s, but I didn't realise he's now 7s. That must have been in the last couple of days. Looking at a big price, and now he's not declared in the Arkle. I did have For Pleasure on the shortlist. I think he's 33s. Now, not completing that, I did listen to, I'm sure either Roy Delagi or Andy Holding put him up on, or gave him a good mention on their Odds Checker preview, which was really good. So some of this stuff is just lifted from there, but he's got some really good back form. He's beaten Third Time Lucky over hurdles. He was third in last year's Supreme, which isn't terrible form, albeit he was absolutely walloped. But then third to Edwardstone as well this season, ahead of Elixir and Nuts. And I think the thing that I watched was them saying that because of the... No, that was a different thing, actually. So, yeah, he's... I just think if he goes out in front, it'll be prominent, and I wouldn't have given him much chance in the Arkle, to be fair. However, I think if he gets out and is prominently ridden in this race and doesn't make too many mistakes, then he might still be there at the end. It's the kind of race where you don't get stuff coming from the back particularly. So I want something that'll be prominently ridden. I think he's a big price and just might get out in front. And if he does get around, then he's definitely got some class that could see him there. I do. Your shout with Andy Dufresne, though, I do like him quite a lot. But yeah, I just thought he's at short notice worth having a look at 33s compared to Embittered at 7s. Hello? Who's ringing?
Hello. That's Peter. I'll tell you later.
Do we have any idea who Andy Dufresne's jockey may be?
My guess is that they'll be looking to get Rob James on there and getting 7 off him, down to 148. That'll be my best guess.
Yeah, that's what I've been waiting for. I'm a bit lukewarm if he keeps his kind of rating.
I don't think they'd run him without a big claim.
I think if they claim, then he's huge chance.
He'll go off joint favourite. Buddy Ritchie's probably favourite, but with a claimer on, Andy Dufresne's probably going second favourite, isn't he?
Yeah.
Do you mean Top Bandit?
Yeah, sorry, Top.
Can I just add one dissenting voice without knowing what you guys were going to say? The one horse I crossed out straight away was Buddy Rich. I think he's a 130 horse at best, but that's just my opinion. So I do not rate the horse at all.
Do you not think he's been... Well, you're not buying into the fact he's been laid out on purpose?
I think he's good enough to be laid out, in my view. was very good.
Fair enough. So let's summarise. What were people's tips in this? Then I'm going for Pleasure at 33-1 with a very windy case.
I've been embittered as my main horse in the race for as long as I can remember.
So he's best price 8-1. Yeah.
I'll go
Jono,
with-
your top bandit.
Yeah, top bandit, Napa the festival with the Grand Annual, not the county. Yeah, embittered for me. Very interested on Andy Dufresne if they can.
Still at 8. So that's your best bet in the race at 8-1. You two. Because he was mine when he was 14, but
Winner's a winner.
You just asked us what wins. Embittered does.
He went off 9-2 favourite last year, so.
So we've got people now 50 minutes into the second podcast, and we're tipping up the single-figure favourite in the Grand Annual. Come on, Bay of Freedom's going to sort us out with a proper
I'm
bet.
going with Buddy Rich, and no, I'm going to go with Amarillo Sky, and you watch Buddy Rich go and hose up in the race. Guaranteed, isn't it?
The 3 at single figures, fantastic, guys. Okay, Brill, right. It's not going to be any different in the next race, is it? The bumper. This is easy to sort out as tips, isn't it? No one's going to tip Facile Vega. Or are they?
Well, I'd pick Facile Vega over American Mike. I wouldn't back either now at the prices. Obviously, I suspect we're all on at much earlier prices, but I wouldn't back either at the prices. So I would either be looking for something a longer price each way. I'd be watching the race. I think there's a couple that are worth looking at big prices: Seabank Bistro and Hulan Batorchet. Both Willie horses, 33-1 and 40-1. Hulan Batorchet is the one that probably interests me most of the two. It's run in 2 bumpers over in France. Could be anything. It's a future chaser without a shadow of a doubt, but I would be interested if he actually ran in this race. He may not declare him, but if he actually declares him, I would be very interested. So the benefit of no run and no bet, I would say Hulan Batorchet at 40-1.
You get Hulan Batorchet, best price is now 33s, but 4 places with Betfred.
Okay.
Nice. I've been saying the same thing for quite a long time, but Redemption Day each way, 3 places 11-2. I'd be backing that every time they mention Facile Vega, they mention Redemption Day. Probably end up with Paul Townend on board. Perfectly happy with that. I just think he's rock solid. So yeah, I like him and I have done for a long time. So I won't add anything else on him.
No, and I'm with Redemption Day, even probably against the other two, to be quite honest. To me, he was visually certainly equally impressive at Christmas. I think he's related to Cheltenham, who's a obvious previous Cheltenham bumper winner. Horse which, and that also, the point of saying that is also the ground I think will be better than what he would have been riding on potentially in the last couple of months. So I think he's been held for the ground as much as anything else. I think he showed what he could do at Christmas, and he's a horse I'm keen to be backing on Wednesday.
Excellent. Johnny?
Yeah, I think what Mullins wins. I've said all along, I'm not discounting American Mike at all, but Mullins has kind of hoovered up the bumpers this year. But just a note on Willie Mullins and the bumper. You look through his winners: 16-1, 25-1, 25-1, 11-1, and 85-40. But say 2-1. But Kilcruck was the favourite there. So actually, his bumper winners haven't been the shortest price. Has
he never had a favourite win then from those?
I'm going back to Champagne Fever. I don't know before that, but
Kilcruck was favourite, wasn't it, last year? Yes.
Yeah, Kilcruck was 10-11 odds on. So I think just given that, and given, and you've said it before, Kev, given Redemption Day, every time he just gets the mention post anything about Facile Vega. I think Facile Vega, yeah, if I had to pick my winner, I would go for him. If I had to pick the bet, it would be Redemption Day.
Yeah, I think there's literally no way to argue that Facile Vega hasn't put up the best bumper performance this year. However, he's the only one that's had the opportunity to do that. And if any of his others had a run in that race, we don't know. So he's the only one that came out and did it, which you can't knock him for. However, he's now priced as if that's the case, and it's almost like the others couldn't have done that, and you just don't know, do you? So I would, if I was starting now, I'd have a look at all their bumper runs, and I would look at Redemption Day and think, well, he's an each way price, and I would back him there. That's a bet to nothing for me.
4-1 scumbag each way.
11-2, mate. Profit. 5-1, 4 places. Oh my goodness! There's not 4 horses better than Redemption Day. No way. Okay, brilliant. That's day 2 done. So best bet and best each way for day 2. Please, we'll go to Spectre first, my man.
Well, I won't do the obvious ones are Shishkin and Tiger Roll, so I won't do those. So I'm going to put up the Shunter in the Coral Cup, and I'll put up January Jets with the extra places in the Grand Annual.
Excellent. Paul?
I will go with Redemption Day, I think, as the main bet. And if Mars Harper turns up here, definitely each way in the Coral.
The Shunter for me.
Best bet of the day, the Shunter. I would go the best win bet of the day, the 4 to 5 about Sir Gerhard, and the best each way would be Redemption Day. Get your money back. Perfect. Okay, brilliant. That's great, guys. Day 2, all in clover. I'll see you for day 3 shortly.